Hey FBC kids, and welcome back to Ever After, where we are not only hearing, but we get to be a part of God's true fairy tale stories. Now, last week we talked about Ruth and Naomi, who, in the midst of tragedies, had stuck together. And we learned that God gives us companions, those people in our lives that make things a little bit easier because we get to lean on them and lean on God. Now this week, we're going to learn a new big idea with another chapter in Ruth and Naomi's story. Now we ended with Ruth and Naomi heading back to Naomi's original hometown in Judah, and we're going to meet a few more characters in our story this week. But we left last week where Ruth and Naomi were what we call hopeless. They didn't feel very excited or happy. They'd gone through a lot of tragedy and sadness, so they were feeling very down and sad and without hope. Now, many storybook characters need a sign of hope at some point to help them keep going. It renews their faith and their strength and their courage to continue the good fight. Cinderella's glass slipper gave the prince hope that he would track her down and find her again for true love. Now, Jack and the Beanstalk, when Jack found those magic beans, it gave him hope for a better life for his family. Can you think of some other stories where just at the saddest part, a little bit of hope struck the flame in their heart to continue on in their journey? Now, we are not storybook characters, but we also have a chance to find hope, and that hope comes from God, the greatest giver of everything. We're going to start with some music and then grab our story characters and head to Ruth chapter 2.
You're the giver of everything we need. You're the maker of everything we see. You make my heart sing. You make my heart sing. You're the only one who never fails. Even when things change, you never will. You make my heart sing. You make my heart sing. Jesus, you give us love, your never-ending love, and it's the kind of love that makes my heart sing. You make my heart sing. Jesus, you give us life, your never-ending life, and it's the kind of life that makes my heart sing. You make my heart sing. You're the only one who sees me through. Every day of my life I live for you. You make my heart sing. You make my heart sing. Jesus, you give us love, your never-ending love, and it's the kind of love that makes my heart sing. You make my heart sing. Jesus, you give us life, your never-ending life, and it's the kind of life that makes my heart sing. You make my heart sing. We'll sing it out for the world to hear. There's no one greater, there's no one greater. We'll sing it out, make it louder still. There's no one greater than you are, Savior. Jesus, you give us love, your never-ending love, and it's the kind of love that makes my heart sing. That makes my heart sing. You make my heart sing. You make my heart sing. Jesus, you give us love, you never-ending love, and it's the kind of love that makes my heart sing. You make my heart sing. Jesus, you give us life, you never-ending life, and it's the kind of life that makes my heart sing.
tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, this I know when I say yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, for the Bible tells me so. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Jesus loves me, he who died, heaven's gates to open wide. He will wash away my sin, let his little child come in singing yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, this I know when I say yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, for the Bible tells me so. Every now and then when you feel like you are on your own, sing this song and remember you are never all alone. 'Cause Jesus loves you. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, this I know, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, for the Bible tells me so. Yes, Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, this I know when I say yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, yes. Jesus loves me, for the Bible tells me so.
Now, one of the challenges of creating a story can also be the illustrations or the format that we can imagine what's going on. Words are very powerful, but occasionally we like to have a little bit of a visual to help us along. Now, I brought along some toys to help us with our story today, and we are going to be acting out Ruth chapter 2. Now, I brought along with me Naomi, the mother-in-law, and Ruth, the daughter-in-law, okay? Now, we left off at a very hopeless, sad time. And right now, Ruth and Naomi are returning to Naomi's hometown of Bethlehem, right as harvest time was beginning. That's the time of the year where the farmers were ready to go out into the fields and harvest their crops. Their crops had grown and they were ready to pick them, okay? So Ruth and Naomi, again, hopeless, had nothing, lost everything, had no fields that they could harvest, which was a big problem because how could they provide for themselves? That's when Ruth tells Naomi that she is going to provide for them. She's going to take care of them. She would go out into the fields and she would pick up any grain that was left behind. Now, Ruth found herself working in a field that belonged to a man named Boaz. And it turns out Boaz was actually a distant relative of Naomi. Boaz, let's scoot Naomi over for a minute. Boaz saw that Ruth was working out in the field and she was working really hard. He became kind of curious who this woman was. So he asked the workers, can you see them all? Okay, so he asked the workers who she was, and they told her that she was from Moab, and she came back with Naomi. Boaz was pretty impressed, and he told Ruth to keep collecting grain from his field and to take as much as she needed. He even told the other workers to take care of her. Wow. That's pretty nice, right? In fact, when it was harvest time and the workers were going through the field to pick up the grain, they've got one harvesting, picking some up, harvesting it, moving it out of the field, cleaning it all up. Wonderful. Now Ruth was going along and just picking up whatever was left over, which was not much. But Boaz saw what was going on, and he told his workers to leave a little bit more, and that Ruth could pick up as much as she needed. And then when Ruth went to tell Naomi all that had happened, Naomi was so happy. She was glad that the owner of the field, Boaz, was being kind to her. And next time when we come back to church to learn more about our story, we're going to find out why it was extra special that Boaz was related to Naomi's family. And today we're hearing a big idea that tells us that God gives us hope. Now, we already learned that God gives us companions, those people to help us along our journeys. Now, since we have our companions along, we're also talking about how those companions give us a little bit of hope. And we know that hope comes from God. So, do you remember our big idea? It's that God gives us hope. As we discuss hope this week, I wanted to jump over to the book of Romans in chapter 5 and read those first 5 verses. And I love this because sometimes it's hard to remember how awesome God is and that He gives us everything that we need. So I'm going to read those first 5 verses, and I want you to listen to see if you can hear some of the words that we've been talking about, especially in this month of Ever After. Therefore, since we have been made right in God's sight by faith, we have peace with God because of what Jesus Christ our Lord has done for us. And because of our faith, Christ has brought us into this place of undeserved privilege where we now stand. And we confidently and joyfully look forward to sharing God's glory. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us to develop endurance. And endurance helps develop strength of character. And character develops our confident hope of salvation. And this hope will not lead to disappointment. For we know how dearly God loves us because He has given us the Holy Spirit to fill our hearts with His love. Okay, guess what? It was a lot of information, so let's break it down and talk about it. It's telling us that because of our faith, God has brought us to this wonderful place where we now stand, where we can confidently and joyfully look forward to sharing God's glory. But when we run into trials and problems, we can still rejoice. We can, even in the midst of suffering. Do you think Ruth and Naomi were suffering when there was a famine and they lost their families? Yes, definitely. But did they give up or did they stick together and go move to a place where God called them? Exactly. Even in the midst of their suffering, they had hope. 1, because they had God, and 2, because they had each other. What do you think perseverance means? A little bit later it says, endurance and perseverance, because it helps us to develop strength of character, and character strengthens our confident hope of salvation. It means that even in the midst of tragedy, sadness, and hard times or difficult problems, we can still move through it and past it because we have the hope of God. What about our character? Nobody wants to suffer, but our character is our personality, our hope, our soul, and our actions that speak of God's love. That's who we are. So when we face difficult times, are we showing our character of God's love? Or are we sharing a character of selfishness and sin and evil inside of us? When we show God's character through ourselves, we can find the comfort in knowing that this suffering can be turned into something good. It makes us have this perseverance by teaching us that if we keep trying and if we're patient and we trust in God, we can get through our difficult challenges, and it will help us to build this character so that we become more kind and understanding and strong. And that in turn gives us hope to face these situations, that whatever is happening, God will see us through it. Do you remember the story of Jesus in the wilderness? And he was tempted 3 times. We talked about that earlier when we were preparing for the crucifixion and when we talked about the Last Supper and Jesus preparing to be crucified by the people. He suffered when he was being tempted by the devil for 40 days, and he had eaten nothing too. But no matter what the temptation was, because it was different each time, Jesus persevered by saying no to it. And he didn't just say no. In fact, he quoted scriptures. God gave him the weapon to fight against the evil and the temptation. And it was God's own words. And he showed character by not giving in to the devil's command, but by remembering that he was the Son of God. He had hope from God, God's very own words, to overcome and to persevere. And he did. Even when it seems like we are suffering for no reason, when we don't understand why there's pain and suffering and hardship, we can trust that God gives us hope. Now, one of the greatest things, in my opinion, about being a child of God is that we don't have to keep it to ourselves. In fact, God commands us to go and tell others about it. That was one of our last verses that we just read, that we have this confidence and we look forward. That means we get excited about sharing God's words. So, the Bible talks about us being hands and feet. Did you know that? The Bible wants us and asks us and tells us that we are to be God's hands and feet, to go places and to serve others. So where's somewhere that you might be finding a place that you could serve? You could be God's hands and feet. You could share God's heart with his love. So maybe where's a place that you could go to give a little hope? And it doesn't have to be a super big dramatic place. It could be every single day you share a little more kindness, a little more love. You're a little more patient with people, and you shine God's light everywhere you go by your character. And don't forget that God gives us hope. Okay, we are drawing to a close in our video today, so we need to practice our memory verse for this month, which comes from Psalm 121, and it's verse 8, and it says, "The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore." So let's get our motions. Ready? The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. Psalm 121, 8. Awesome. I'm so glad we got to have this time of worship, praise, and joy and hope together. And please don't forget those verses in Romans that tells us through those trials and those suffering and those hard times when we're sad and heartbroken, just like Ruth and Naomi, God gives us our companions to help us, and God gives us hope for a brighter tomorrow. Will you join me in a word of prayer as we close? Heavenly Father, I thank you for this time with these families and these kids, Lord, that we can worship and praise you. We can exalt you with our hope in our hearts, Lord. I ask that you help us to be your hands and feet this week, that we may serve, we may go, and we may love on our community and the children of you, Heavenly Father. And I thank you for this facility where we get to meet, Lord, and I ask your blessing upon this place and the people that gather in your name here. In your holy and precious name I pray. Amen. All right, my friends, I hope you're having a wonderful summer. I enjoyed a little too much sunshine this week and got a little sunburned. So I hope you guys are staying safe and having fun and enjoying a little break from school. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.